There we go. All right. Here we go. We're live.
Yay!
I'm excited. We have Shelly Williams here today as a guest. So say hi. You and I already did, but today we're going to be talking about how to live a true, authentic life as a business owner. And those are words, true and authentic and purpose. Those are all kind of words I love to use, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. And just I think so often in business we don't apply it or those words to us as entrepreneurs or executives, and I think so often we end up losing that spark that is so important. Just as while we're waiting for people to jump on, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about my origin story. To start the company that I formed, I would look at business owners and I would see that they didn't have a spark in them, and they were tired. And this is before the last recession hit. So this was around in 2006. And so things were good, things were booming, and people still weren't happy. And so I think the last recession kind of allowed people to kind of rethink. And then things get good again. It's been another 10 years without a recession. And now we're at a point again where it's getting people to self-reflect and think, what's important and who am I? So,
Good question.
the age-old question of who am I? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? So,
which I think we continually ask ourselves throughout our life.
Yep.
Different seasons. Okay, who am I
again? So before we get into the fun topic of that, Shelly, do you want to just start off with giving a little background of yourself? Shelly is actually the wife of somebody I work with in the business world, and we've connected, him and I, and then he's like, you really need to meet my wife. I think you guys would really connect, and because we talk a lot about the same things. And so and seeing this sheet that she had sent over of another speech she had done a while back, I was like, oh yeah, she's saying a lot of the same words that I say. So Shelly, why don't you start with a little background?
We're sisters. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I grew up in Idaho and met Jason, who works with me. He's my husband, in high school. And all through high school, I was super competitive in sports and really loved competing and challenging myself, and did that all through high school. And then we got married right after high school, and we were just babies at 19. So we've been married for 27 years now. Which has been work, but amazing and awesome and super rewarding, to stick things through and just really learn to love somebody in a selfless way. And through that, we have 3 children and 2 grandbabies, which is such a fun.
Are you missing them? Can you see them right now?
They're in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, because you don't see them typically on a regular basis anyway.
FaceTime. They're so fun, and just to see my kids now transitioning and thriving, and wow, you guys are such amazing people. So being able to watch them through that. Professionally, I have my degree in radiology, which I thought I wanted to be in the healthcare industry. And I did to a certain point, but it was so analytical when I started to jump into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And I'd go home and have nightmares and just angst inside of me all the time. And I realized, okay, this is not for me. And transitioned into a home-based business where I was helping people one-on-one with their health and being more on the solution side instead of just the analytical assembly line type side. And I realized, okay, that's really what fuels my heart. And that's really what I love doing, is that one-on-one and seeing change and transition in people's lives. So I did that. I've done that for 20 years through business with Advocare. And then in the middle of that, I just had this little curiosity, I think I want to go get my aesthetics license and kind of have another little fun job that I go do when my 2 oldest were in elementary school, and got my license to be an esthetician and permanent makeup, and was working in the spa, and had a great time with that. I loved that. It kind of broadened that I could be one-on-one with people and see a transition in some capacity. And then I had my daughter and my third, and I decided, okay, I'm going to take a break from this and just really focus again, shift and pivot on that, and refocus at home. And I did that for quite some time. And then I realized that, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but I wanted to serve in a nonprofit. I kept having that on my heart, and I didn't know where. Came across Wipe Every Tear and jumped into there as a staff member. And through that process of what I learned in that area, and then also coming home to find out, coming home from the Philippines, helping serve there with that nonprofit, came home to find out that my business of 20 years was going to be gone within a month. So the income, that 6-figure income, was suddenly gone. Like, that was something that was like, okay, that's going to be a good residual income. And that was suddenly gone. And I thought, what am I going to do now? But in spending time with those women, a new idea was birthed from that. And I started my aesthetics business, Vibrant Aesthetics, here in Boise, and have my studio where I get to be one-on-one again with people and extend that love. So all over the place, but that's kind of how I am, just like, okay, what's the new season? What's next?
And you started the business just a couple months ago, right?
I did, in November.
Okay, and then it obviously had to shut down.
So. Yay! Oh.
And real fast, tell them, because when you told me this, it just like sunk in my heart, like just what this nonprofit is doing. Just tell them what they're doing over in the Philippines. I think it just brings reality to what is really out there in life, and I think the more we can be real about life and what things are happening, the better. So.
Yeah, and cool facts, because I was looking at my Facebook today and my memories popped up, and today, 1 year ago, was the day that I hopped on the plane to go to the Philippines to go serve over there. So I'm like, oh, I get to talk about it.
Perfect. Yeah, reflect
back. Thanks for asking about that. Yeah, Wipe Every Tear is based out of Boise, but we go and help women in the Philippines who have been they've been abused and they've been trafficked into working in the sex trade. And because there's such a high poverty level, they're kind of trapped in that. Without a college education, you cannot get hired even to get like fast food. So what we do is we offer them a safe place to come. They're not held at gunpoint. Most cases, it's just like poverty, like I have to earn money. So they're really abused in that way of taking advantage of them to be in the industry. So we offer them a safe place, but we also pay for their full education as far as they want to go, so that they can go and pursue the dreams that are in their heart that they never thought were possible. And so I got to be part of that and meet the women. There's 64 women in the care of these homes, as well as their children or any siblings that they want to bring in as well. And everything is covered for them and paid for. And it's really just a message of hope and empowering people to really be able to come against the places where they've been trapped and stuck into, like, okay, it's not the end of your story. Here's a new way. And so to give them that opportunity is so amazing to watch them blossom and unfold.
Yeah, that's great. And that kind of segues into when I had you kind of give me like a bullet point or a headline of something that you'd like to talk about. You gave me a few, and the one that we kind of decided to wrap this live around was the concept of identifying and living out your true authentic self from the perspective of a story unfolding rather than a performance to prove yourself. And so I think, like you said, we all have this story. So go a little deeper in that and what triggered you to want to talk about that subject.
Basically, it was because out of my own struggle with it and realizing, because I was talking to a group of women and, helping them to come out of hard places, and how can you soar through hard, painful places. And so this came from like my own journey of trying to prove myself and feeling like I had to be perfect. And so everything became a performance in my life. And so what do I need to be here? What do I need to be here? And it just became exhausting, and I could never live up to my own false expectations. And I couldn't read other people's expectations. Like, I was losing myself because I was trying to be everything for everybody. And so Nothing to Prove really gives you space and permission to live out of your true authentic self and deposit who you are within this love story and adventure of all this opportunities and fun things to explore and to gain. So I'm not operating from a deficit of I need to become something. It's like, who am I and how can I go deposit that into areas around me? And that's really where you'll see the most life spring forth and the most joy is when you're living from that true, authentic self as a part of a story.
You know, made me think about in business what we do as well. You know, so often in business we're looking at our competition, or we're looking at, oh, you know, that's what I need to be like, and they're just so focused on them instead of focus on their true, like the business's true authentic self and what their vision and their mission and their core values. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, is always being true to my purpose, and then the company being true to its vision. And I think like if you don't have that as an individual and as a business, like it doesn't give you, it makes things very stressful and fearful, and you're always looking at, oh no, am I going to get passed up? But if you're focused in on that vision, it's going to guide you along that pathway. So I never really put the correlation like that together before, but because I talk about the two separately, but I'm like, it's really the same for a business. You know, they look at the competition and they're saying, oh, you know, how can I become better than them? And they're just focused on that. So.
Yeah, and just as far as like a story, I mean, we talked about this a little bit and looking at it like a love story. Well, a love story is kind of messy, right? I used to think like it had to fit into a certain picture, like everything had to go just right, otherwise I was failing. And so thinking of it as a love story, I'm like, okay, it's not a good love story unless there's like some kind of crisis or, you know, something that you have to go through, highs and lows and things and celebrations, victories, but also a hero and somebody stronger than yourself that gets you through. And so for me, that love story is just really my relationship with God and letting Jesus to be my hero through everything. So taking the weight off my shoulder. Yes, I'm partnering, and yes, I'm engaged. I'm not passive about that, but I'm really giving myself the permission to let it be messy. And we're going to figure it out as we go because we're learning. We're constantly learning and leaning and not trying to rely on my own strength.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is, the sooner you realize that life is difficult, it no longer becomes difficult.
That that was my daughter's wise word Wednesdays for school yesterday. Exactly.
Really?
Yes. Everything's difficult until it becomes easy, or something until it becomes easy, or something like that. Yeah. Same type of thing. That's so fun.
I always tell my son that, like, welcome to life, because he's 18 and now he's being out on his own, and it's like, well, that's welcome to life, you know. That's
right.
when you're in the home, like, you kind of think that life's just going to be hunky dory, and then
fast and easy. Why not? Sometimes, but you need a little bit of both.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you had written just on these notes she sent me, they were great. There were some really great headlines. So I was just going to take those and we're going to kind of talk about a couple of them. So the next one you had written is like, be willing to completely suck at something new. And I love these headlines because they completely resonate with things that I say often. So I'll let you speak first and then I'll give you mine.
Yeah. I found that, I think it was on a LinkedIn post, and somebody had it like on a billboard. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. Because it hit me like right then. It was like right when I was about to start something brand new that I kind of had an idea, but I'd never gone out and ventured it on my own. And that was the aesthetics business. And I had to lean into, okay, like, who am I? Because we all have, let me go to our true identity. So our true identity is not a function or a role or a position or a title. It's our passion. What is our common life message that seems to just kind of bubble out and flow out of us no matter what we're doing? Because our tools and our functions and our roles can change and they can shift. And so if my identity is based in those, then I'm going to fall apart in a mess. If that's where I'm basing my identity. But for me personally, let me give you an example. My life message is I'm a transformer. Like, no matter what I'm doing, I have to see transformation in order to be fueled for it. I'm excited when it happens, and I'm like really disappointed when it doesn't. But that's always my motivation, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's writing a book, whether it's parenting and my marriage, in aesthetics, in helping coach health-wise, one-on-one with people. I'm always seeking to bring transformation. So that's really my true identity. That's who I am. So bringing that into the tools and the roles and functions is what we're looking at. So we can stay in that place, but be willing to suck at something new by a new function, a new role, a new position title, a new job, new work, what project, whatever it is. But I'm going to bring that transformer self within that. So people might be more like, I'm a nurturer, I'm a communicator, I'm a strategist, I am an innovator, I'm a pioneer. Like there's always a life message that you see common thread. No matter what you're doing, it bubbles up and it fuels passion within you, and it makes you feel kind of like, oh, that didn't happen, I'm really disappointed. So I came into this being willing to suck at something new because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to open this aesthetics business, but I'd never done it on my own. And so I was like, it's the only thing that makes my heart go when I think about it. Because I was applying for different jobs and things, and I'm like, I'll do it. I'll get a different job and I'll try that. But it was just like closed door after closed door after closed door. So I'm like, what is this? And this idea of opening up this studio just kept like, I kind of want to do that, but I'm kind of afraid. And so just after talking to a friend, I'm like, I heard myself talking. I'm like, what am I afraid of? Like, what is this that's holding me back? And just in my quiet time and prayer time, God just told me, like, I want you to write down all of these fears and just get it out, put it out on paper, quit trying to shove it and say that you're not afraid. I shouldn't be afraid, and just own it and say, I'm afraid of these things, and not be embarrassed about it.
There's a book, I can't remember what it's called, but it talks about like, what's the worst that can happen? And I think by doing that process, it kind of allows you to be like, okay, the worst that can happen is this, and I'm okay with that. I can handle that.
Yeah. I had to see it like face value in front of me, because otherwise it was just like this conversation in my head that was bogging me down and making me feel really insecure. So write it all down. But then he also told me, he's like, now I want you to give hope an equal voice, and I want you to draw a line, and I want you now to write down, what are your hopes in the same situation? And hope not as in like, I hope this happens, like a wishful feeling, but expectations of like, what great things do I hope would happen out of taking this leap and doing something new that I'm not sure that I'd be very good at, as far as being like running it. And so I gave hope an equal voice, because fear depends on silence. So as long as it stayed in the dark and just in my head, it grew bigger. But hope depends on light. So as I brought hope into the light, it grew, and all of a sudden that became much more important and much louder and more valid than any fear that I had. And it actually included other people that it would touch. Like it went from like, I hope that, people would come in. I hope that I'd be able to impart something different, and got really specific. I'm kind of being general right now, but then it grew into like, I hope when people come, they leave different. I hope that this is something that radically shifts and changes them in the trajectory of their life. And so it started to include other people, and it grew. And I'm like,
impact and inspiration.
Yeah. So now it's not only like I hope for myself, but now I'm like, man, I have to go give hope at least a shot at this, because not only could it affect me, but now it could affect other people.
Yeah. Now it's your calling, your duty to do it. And I think that's why, like, people start businesses for different reasons. And like, I don't want them to lose sight of what that is. And I think it's important to always keep that in your heart of like, this is why I did it. And then as you get stuck in the craziness of business, always going back to that and self-reflecting. So as you get going in your business, it's like, making sure that as you get caught up in the day-to-day, that you don't ever lose sight of what the reason why you started it, and making that hold dear. So I love that. On that same note, so the reason why that being willing to be, let me read it again, be willing to completely suck at something new is resonated with me is, a lot of experts that I listen to would always say, focus on your genius, do what you're really good at, and just focus on that. And it always didn't stick with me quite right. And then Shelly, I know you had mentioned something in a previous conversation we had where you had mentioned like really what your genius is really what your true authentic self is. Yeah. And the tools that you do are all different. And I think a lot of times people don't make that segregation or that separation. They think genius is like, I'm really good at doing Facebook ads, or I'm really good at, like, I'm not very great at doing live Facebook lives, but you know what? I'm doing it because I've been able to do it. So I'm going to keep getting better. And so, I think just, we need to get out of our comfort zone. And I just was thinking too, as far as like businesses, and it's going to be interesting. As far as, how fearful non-essential businesses are going to be. Like, they need to obviously figure out how to mitigate their risk, going forward with, depending on what things happen in the fall or different stuff. And so, but I don't want people to go forward with us thinking, oh, I'm fearful. And so I like what you said about hope. And so do you have any messaging maybe for the businesses out there that are in the line of business that you're in that isn't deemed essential right now? And so as you're self-reflecting on this time, like, how are you going to approach it from a hope perspective versus a fear perspective?
Yeah, it's like, okay, go back to my identity. I'm a transformer. How can I bring transformation in a new way that's exciting, that's beneficial to somebody else, that includes and brings them into that transformation, and not just something that feeds my own ego or my own accomplishments, but how can I bring that transformation in another way, and really look at areas that need transformation.
Yeah.
Because that's my message. That's my life. Now, somebody else would say, okay, I'm a communicator. How can I bring that in? I'm an inventor. I'm a connector. I'm a nurturer. Something, whatever that strength is, that true identity is, like, how can I express that in a new tool? Like, the tools and the functions are just ways that we express who we are.
And I think a lot of companies get stuck in that trap. I mean, now I'm seeing all these parallels in this life as far as like our own purpose and the tools we use to fulfill our purpose, and then a company's purpose and the tools we use to fulfill that. Like, just even like if you're at a salon in a brick and mortar, like there might be times when you have to adapt and change that. So if you keep going back to what your purpose is, you can find a different vehicle or a different tool to be able to get that going. So, Jason's on now. I don't know if he has Power Women.
Of course he is. Hi, Jason.
Just for those that don't know, Jason is Shelly's husband, and connected us both. So
yes, he did. So, and to go back, like, okay, so a year ago, last May, was when I heard that my ongoing function and role in a business for 20 years was now all of a sudden going to be gone. Like, I had to think again, like, what is it? Okay, who am I? How do I want to impart that and express that in a new creative way and build something? Mm-hmm. So one thing about that is doing something new is, like, we always ask people, what do you do? What do you do? Instead of asking people, what are you building? And so when we start asking people, what are you building? You're tapping into their identity, and you're tapping into your true authentic self, connecting to them, instead of like, what's your function? It's like, what are you building? What are you creating through who you are, by just depositing and expressing who you are in the world around you?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, another topic. These are good ones. So, do the next right thing. So what does that mean to you?
Okay, so this was funny. This comes from just being open, like, okay, like, I'm just going to be open, and everything's a learning opportunity. So we took our granddaughters to see Frozen 2. And I'm like, you know what? There's going to be a message in Frozen 2 for me. so watch Frozen 2. And here comes Princess Anna. And she's faced with this overwhelming situation that she's never faced before. And she's feeling like, okay, I don't know what to do. I know where I want to go, but I don't know how to get there. And she starts this sing song. You know how Frozen 2 is just super sing song. Of just do the next right thing. And so it helps a visionary, somebody who can see a big picture, because I think a lot of business owners are visionaries. You have to be. You have to see kind of the big picture of where you want to go. But in order to get there, there's so many variables that can be paralyzing. And so we want to do the right thing. So we get so scared of not doing the right thing, and all of the steps, that we don't want to do anything. And so just do the next right thing. So what's the next step towards being my true authentic self in what I'm doing, in this role, in this function that I'm involved in? What would be the next right thing towards that vision, and not worrying about all the many steps ahead of that, but focusing in those bite-sized pieces helps to take that pressure off of getting it. Like, I don't want to make a mistake. I want to get it all right. So that comes from just having a victory mindset. Like, I see the end, I'm going to be victorious, but being victorious doesn't mean that you have a pretty perfect life. So it means you have battle scars. And it means that right in the middle of painful things, transitions, unexpected, unknown things, you decided your end from your beginning, and you started living like it. Like, I will be victorious, and I will have battle scars. So, like, battle scars deem you as victorious. If you don't have battle scars, like, there's no victory. Like, you can't sit on the shelf. I talked about this in my book. You can't be perfect, pretty on the shelf. Like, that is the consolation prize.
Yeah.
You have to have some battle scars.
I don't think I mentioned it, but here's her book, Soar. So
thanks.
This is more of God-centered, around the same thing, around your authentic self. But I have to bring up, so Clayton is on, and he says the Frozen movies always have a great message, and this is coming from a grown man. So
yes.
he also has kids, so you can tell the grown men that have kids and daughters at home. So
but yeah, I mean, doing the next right thing. Okay, so that also means, okay, so there has to be an element of impossibility if we want to have a miraculous kind of life. If we want to have see greatness in our life, there has to be an element of impossibility. So for myself, my language is, I want to live a miraculous life. I want to see things happen that are like monumental. And so that comes with accepting there's going to be some impossibilities. Like, it is a vital ingredient to the miraculous. And so instead of being upset or mad and frustrated that there are impossibilities, it's like, I'm grateful for those, because now that deems that the miraculous can happen. And now I'm standing on the door of that, of seeing that greatness. So miraculous is impossibilities becoming possible.
Yeah. So, and I discount sometimes too much how much consistent, simple, small things can make a huge difference. So awesome. That's great. Okay. This one is struck a chord with me, because I really, as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, this one kind of resonated with my heart. And you had written, serve someone else's vision. I was like, oh, yes. Because this is, I'll tell you why it struck a chord with me, is I know, like, I have this vision, and if I had people that weren't willing to help me make that vision a reality, if I didn't have my team and partners that wanted to help make my vision a reality, then it would be impossible. I mean, if everybody wanted to be a visionary and entrepreneur like me, we'd have all these great ideas, but nothing would ever get accomplished in the world. Right. I know I couldn't do this on my own. And so that was the one fold of that struck a chord with me. Mm-hmm. And then the other is that, we need to figure out a way to work less, to be able to enjoy life more, to have time to serve in our communities and with other nonprofits or other visions that I'm passionate about. Because obviously I love my vision, but I don't want my vision to be the end all be all. I would love to be able to have time to serve other people's vision too. And when you serve like that, and it brings out something in you that keeps inspiring you to do good things. So right. What resonated that statement? Like, what made you write that statement? Because I never really had heard that before.
Yeah, it was like, when it was said to me for the first time, somebody was saying it like in a panel, and they mentioned serve someone else's vision. I'm like, wait a second, what? And I was so selfish that I was like, I'm supposed to serve my vision. What are you talking about? Like, I have goals and dreams. Like, how can I be serving everybody's vision all at once? And does that mean that I'm neglecting? Because I was just so task oriented and proving myself, and that goal oriented, which are good things, but I didn't realize that in serving someone else's vision, all of a sudden now I get to deposit who I am into somebody else, in my true authentic self. I get to go practice that. And through that process of really uplifting somebody else and having no other motive except to see them thrive, and to offer who I am, no matter if I have experience in that or not, but just, I'm going to offer who I am. And you tell me where I can go and do that. You tell me what you need help with. I'm going to go do that. And you'll see that opportunities that you never would have had are birthed out of that, because life is generated when you operate out of your true self, of who God's created you to be. And that's where that joy comes in. And that's where you start to see new things that you can build that never would have had open doors had you not. So that's what happened to me. I took that and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to try this out. And we took a women's group and we were doing this on a monthly basis, just picking some area, some person, some organization where we could go. Because we had come together and we'd gotten fed a lot, like uplifted, positive. So we were like really full, like, okay, we've gained so much, but now we need to go use that. So we went out with the purpose of serving someone else's vision. And then I took it another step and I thought, I had one night where we helped with the Idaho Coalition against human trafficking. And I'm like, I don't really know anything about this, but I started to talk about Wipe Every Tear to somebody that was at the same venue. And I didn't really even know about Wipe Every Tear. I just heard about it. I'm like, you need to know them. And I started advocating for them. I'm like, why am I so passionate about this? I need to go find out, because I really felt like I was supposed to be involved with the nonprofit, and they needed help with as a sponsorship coordinator. And I thought, I don't even know what that means. Like, I couldn't understand from their description. Like, I don't even know what that means, but they need help. So, okay, I'm just going to go like serve their vision. And as I heard their heart, I realized we had the same heart. Like, they want to help people see their dreams come true and just see transition and transformation. I'm like, that's what I want. And I have a heart for women. And so I'm like, I can learn a skill set, but you can't learn a heart. So as our two hearts came together and I started to pour myself into serving their vision, which I had no experience in, that led me to go to the Philippines to meet these women, to bless them, to give them a gift of a facial on the beach. And I realized this is why I got my license 11 years ago. Like, God had them on his heart 11 years ago for me to have a fun job to get my aesthetics license so that I could be in the Philippines on that day to give them facials that they would know that they're loved and valuable. And it'd be such a healing touch to them. So I came home and realized that my job that was allowing me to go volunteer my time, serving their vision, was no longer. And I thought, well, what am I going to do next? And I realized I need to go and do the same thing in Boise and let women know how special and valuable they are with that hands-on transformation. And that never would have happened had I not gone and served someone else's vision. I wouldn't have the same mission minded behind it. It would just be maybe another function or a role, like, oh, this is how I can make money now that that income's gone. But now there's a heart message of really instilling that value with that hands-on touch, that people would be transformed at the time they come in to the time that they leave, that they'd be touched with God's love. And so that came out of serving someone else's vision.
Yeah, I love that. So for all the business owners that are watching out there, if you don't have a clear vision, this is a good reason why, because it takes a community to make your vision happen. And so that if you don't have that clear message and that clear vision, like, go back to your roots, reflect back on why you started your company, really figure out what the pathway is forward, get a clear vision, and get people to join with you. And yeah. It takes a village, to make things happen. Just like it takes a village to raise a family, I believe it takes a village to make a vision a reality. So. And
when you go and start someone else's vision, like, you start to get a different perspective. You see things differently than you would have before. You learn things, and you generate, like, because they're depositing who they are and I'm depositing who I am. Now I'm benefiting from who they are, and it changes me to become even more well-rounded in the next thing that I'm depositing myself into.
Yeah.
So it's super valuable. Like that collaboration of really, like, leaning into each other is so important to your next steps.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. I even had some aha moments during this time. So to wrap it back around, so we were talking, you have nothing to prove, but you do have an amazing story to unfold, an endless adventure to discover and gain. So that was something you had written. Mm-hmm. Wrap it back around for everybody that's listening on just how, just being your true authentic self, why that's important, why, being true to your story, and everybody's got their own unique story, and embrace your own unique story. I think it's great. Before I do that, I was comparing, I have 3 little boys, and they're all close in age and all very different. The biggest eye opener seeing them grow is just how different we all are from the beginning, when they're first born and so, I just think it's very important to embrace each other's differences, embrace that we think differently, and And it's such a, when we develop that in the world, that love for each other and each other's differences, like amazing things happen. And so what are some last words for those that are listening?
Yeah, just give yourself permission. Just free yourself from that perfectionism. You don't have to fit in. You actually bring something unique to the table, like you said. Yeah. And so being willing to let things be a little messy, to not shy away from painful transitions. Yes, it's sad when some things change that we're attached to, but let it just be a good season. Let it be a fun tool that was part of your life, but not devastating to who you are, so that you can live this love story and deposit, like, okay, not that I have to gain some approval from somebody, but now I can just offer you who I am because it's mine to give. Like it's just the offering of loving somebody enough to offer who you are and being vulnerable in that, and letting things unfold, be surprised, be amazed, live the miraculous, and just really leaning into God's strength and not having to come up with everything on your own. Just let him be the turn the pages. He's already written the story. Just let it unfold and see what miracles happen through that.
That's great. I always believe he sees a better way than we see for ourselves. So I love that. So with that,
he has your good in mind. Always.
What was that?
He always has your good in mind.
Oh yeah. No.
And so not everything will be good. Some things might be kind of sucky, but you will have victory.
And sometimes, like, actually, I'll read one more quote you had said, because I always say God's a procrastinator and he loves to like give it to you like right at the last minute. It's like, why did you wait for it? You could have done it like a week before. But then when I see the progression of why things took so long, I realize like that uneasiness is what gets you to change and grow. And so get comfortable in that uncomfortable zone. And you had actually said, God doesn't take a long time. He takes enough time. So I think that's great. So
yes. I have to remind myself that.
No, this is wonderful. Shelley, I am so glad that we were able to do this. So thank you, Jason, if you're still on, for connecting us. And I want to keep doing these. So if you are somebody that would like to be on my lives too, reach out, direct message me. I would love to have some other business owners out there that I would love to just get other stories and get a feel for, what other people are experiencing right now and what their thought processes are, what their pains are. So if you are a business owner and would like to be on one of my lives, go ahead and direct message me. And then if you like these lives, do follow my pages, and we'll keep doing these. This is great. And we have a lot more coming in the works other than just these lives. So I'm excited for what the marketing team's been working on, and so we can continue to give you guys more value, and hopefully as business owners, give you more of a pathway forward and give you more clarity and help simplify your life. So thanks, Shelley. And we'll stay connected. Obviously I'm connected with Jason, so we'll stay in touch.
So good. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks everyone that joined. Bye.